why I have things to say about this movie that nobody else is saying. I'm hearing a lot of sunshine, rainbows, and roses about this movie, but it's not completely quite all there to me. And here's why. Hey there, quick editor's note that I'm inserting into the beginning of this video that I am re-releasing because following the initial release of this Sinners movie review, I got some very interesting feedback on the movie. I learned that the movie is actually brilliantly made because there is a lot of history that is respected. Real life historical fact. So Ryan Coogler did a lot of research and the movie is really well thought out, well done, which is great. That being said, the majority of audiences are like me, people who don't know about this history, and there is no documentary attached to the movie to let the girlies know what is the baseline for this information, for the things that you see on screen. We're not aware for most of us. You actually have to go out of your way to look at other reviewers and other videos where there are historians and people who did the research and who are informed that share the information. That is a type of content in and of itself. I do reviews of script writing and character development and character interactions. It's the people in the movies, the way they act, the things they say, and the way conversations flow. That is what I review when I analyze movies. My review still stands for what it is. I'm not judging the same things, but I can respect that this is a great movie in terms of the research that went into the little details, the attention to detail, and great. That's wonderful. However, I still have some concerns when it comes to screenwriting and character interaction and character behavior, we can say, to a certain extent. Hey there, I'm Angel. I review movies and TV shows, I do reaction videos, and I wanted to throw in my gauntlet as well and review the movie Sinners because I have thoughts and I feel like I haven't heard anybody echoing my sentiments, so let's discuss, shall we? Spoiler alert, I want to warn you right now, we talk about all of it, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, I would recommend you save this to your watch list and then watch it later. But for those who have seen the movie, we are going to talk about what was great about it. Obviously, everything I say is my opinion. This is not an objective reading. And what I found a bit questionable, problematic, and just been there, done that about this movie. This movie is like Twilight meets Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller, meets BET, meets Did You Freak Off? I don't know what's going on. A lot of movie reviewers that I really respect aren't really mentioning the flaws of this movie. I will start off by saying that there are so many positives. Obviously, overall it's a great movie. My takeaway from the movie was, okay. I didn't think it was revolutionary. I didn't think it changed the way cinema is made. I didn't think it was a fantastic movie. I thought it was a good movie, but the way people are talking about it, it's as if, oh my god, you have to watch it 3-4 times. I mean, obviously art is subjective, right? So everyone can say what they want, and I'm glad that some people really loved it. But as a person who's seen a lot of horror movies in her lifetime, a lot of Black American movies, a lot of white American movies, a lot of international movies, I didn't see anything particularly new apart from the concept itself. Sinners takes place in the 1930s, I want to say. I can't remember exactly and I didn't take notes. We're dealing with post-slavery America. Things are still very much segregated. And the story follows a guy named Sammy, a preacher's son, who is very, very talented with the musicals, which I will get to, the music in this movie. Godsend. His cousins get money to open up a juke joint, aka a bar, where people can come back after work, kick up their heels and enjoy libations, musical attractions, fun, fancy, and obviously sin. We all know that the nighttime is the right time for bad things to happen. But, plot twist, the cousins and Sammy open up this juke joint and unfortunately they have unwelcome visitors who happen to be, and I said spoiler alert, vampires! Oh my gosh, what? I didn't know this movie was Twilight meets 12 Years a Slave. And the vampires mess everything up because that's what vampires do. And then the movie is basically a Dusk Till Dawn situation, which is a popular movie where people are just waiting out for the sun to come up because if anybody knows vampire lore, the sun is their greatest enemy. Honestly, it was a very classic vampire movie, besides, like I said, the fact that we are in 1930s America and we're dealing with post-slavery Black Americans. So it really has a different nuance to the story, which was enjoyable. First thing I would say, I loved the music. My God, the actor who plays Sammy, I don't know if that's his voice, if he's the one singing, but chef's kiss. This man, this boy can sing. I haven't heard a voice like that in so long. I actually grew up listening to a lot of blues and bluegrass. I would listen to these old CDs while playing solitaire on my dad's computer. I love that kind of music. So for example, we have the twins, their nicknames are Smoke and Stack, and I immediately Smokestack Lightning, I believe, which is a blues track that I absolutely love by an artist called Howlin' Wolf. Yeah, the music was great. Honestly loved it. Every musical interlude and the place of music in this movie is interesting. Number two thing I really appreciate about this movie was the visuals. Obviously, everything is stunning, everything is well done. Although there's a lot of blood. It's very bloody, it's very gorish, but it was very tomatoey, lots of tomato juice. It's a little thickwood, even thickwood is what I would call it. It is what it is, but that's fine. I'm a person who doesn't appreciate gore, so I was very happy seeing tomato juice all over the place. I also liked at the beginning we had also a very typical horror movie trope, which is the harbinger of death. Sammy's father tells Sammy, who's about to, go off with his cousins, and the dad knows these cousins are up to no good. You keep dancing with the devil, he gonna follow you home. Loved it. I loved it. I was like, oh, here we go. We're in a classic horror movie. Harbinger of Death, for those who don't know, is a character that we usually see in the beginning of a lot of horror movies who kind of tells the main characters, don't do this thing, or trouble's afoot, don't go to that log cabin, it's not safe. Don't feed the gremlins after midnight. And what do the characters do? They do not heed the warning, and then a horror movie ensues. So I appreciated the nod and the respect of the classic horror movie trope. I also respected that there weren't that many jump scares, Usually they really go hard in jump scares in horror movies, but this was light on jump scares, so I was really happy. We had that one scene with the snake in the truck with the twins at the beginning of the movie. Again, felt like, is this a bad omen being slipped in? Like, ooh, there's a snake among us. Ooh, getting bit, because snakes, they bite. Yeah, in terms of editing, everything was really on point. The acting was great. Everybody kind of delivered the characters that they were given. The world building is great. You really do feel like you're there. The setting design, everything is really great. And honestly, like I said, I think for me, the music is what sells this movie the most. But again, flip side of this, oh my god, great storytelling, the story itself. These characters were very stereotypical to me. There was nothing new or innovative. And one thing, a pet peeve of mine in screenwriting, because I'm also an amateur screenwriter / published author, one of my pet peeves in writing are people telling you the story instead of weaving it in or showing you or being more creative with how backstory is shared. I noticed, especially in Black American cinema, they treat scenes a lot like plays. Black Americans have a strong history in playwriting, but when it comes to movies, they never really leave the stage. It's always very boxed the way stories are told. For example, Mary in the story, which when she appeared, I swear to you, I was like, hey, it's Dua Lipa. The character of Mary shows up, and every time she comes on screen, she's telling us the story of her and Stack, one of the twins, played by Michael B. Jordan. And the other twin is also played by Michael B. Jordan. Pause for a second to talk about that. At first I was distracted, obviously, because we know that this is one person and not twins. They did the whole blue pill, red pill thing with the hats. They tried to distinguish them, so throughout the movie you kind of could tell. One of them was a little bit more bubbly and had more fire, which was Stack. The other one was more calm, was more serious, was more dangerous in his anger and his reservedness, and that was Smoke. Which is great, honestly. Great character acting. Michael B. Jordan, you sold us two people. And like I said, eventually you forget that we're dealing with one actor playing two characters. So great job. Great job. So Mary comes up to Stack at the train station and she's all like, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. You said you would come for me, but you didn't. Go away, I'm a bad guy. Forget about me. Love that. Great. If only women would listen. That's also like something that we see a lot in movies. I mean, obviously the movie is called Sinners, not Saints. So none of the stories and the love stories in this movie are particularly healthy, I would say. I will get to that in a second because that's also something. But it's not a critique on this movie. This is just an observation of life in general and the mistakes that we often make. So Mary basically tells Stack, you told me to marry this man, this white man, because I'm white passing, which is a Black American thing. I don't know if you watching are aware of this. I'm hoping you know that slaves were brought in from Africa to America to work the land in the South, pick cotton, do other manual labor. Oftentimes, women were by slave owners. They would bear children. These children were mixed, so they would kind of look like me and 50 shades in between. And sometimes those mixed children would then go on and, I don't know, I guess get married or have children with another white person, and so their children would come out very light-skinned. There's always a little crink in them, a little kink in the hair, a little some, so you could tell they're not completely all European blood. So Mary is a person that they would call passing. She could pass for a white person if she just smooths her hair out. So we understand from the story that Stack, she was in love with him. Him and his brother Smoke were kind of taken in and raised by Mary's mother when their mother passed away. They had a romance, very physical dalliances, but in caring for her, he set her up to marry a white person so that she could be safe and taken care of financially. We're talking about back in the day when money and women and jobs and all these things were complicated. So in his mind's eye, he believed he was helping her. He was seeing the long-term effects of this, and she was seeing short-term, I'm young, I'm in love with you, and he was like, but I'm a criminal. So honestly, I disagree with him trying to decide for her, I guess, her future, and lying to her, because he told her he would come back for her, basically, and he didn't. But at the same time, when someone tells you who they are, listen. That's like the biggest problem I have with women in general. And I include myself in this boat. I've been that girl most of my life. I hope I've evolved, but what do I know? We've got a tendency as womans to date these mans who tell us straight up, I'm a bad guy, I'm no good for you, I don't deserve you, I can't live up to your expectations. And what do we hear? Oh, you're so insecure, I love you, I'll take care of you, I want to be with you, it doesn't matter, oh, you're just saying that, but you don't know how precious you are, and I will save you, I will show you, I will bring the best out of you, I will make you the man you deserve to be, or whatever, blah, 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 blah.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
No, girl, listen. He's telling you who he is because that's who he is. Guys usually don't lie about this up front. The signs are always there. The signs are always there. We just have to learn to hear them and see them. And so Mary was told really up front that, hey, look, I want a life of crime. I care about you. I don't want to get you mixed up in this. It's fun and all being with you, but I think you'd be safer just living another life. If she doesn't want to be with this white man, she could just... I don't know what her options are. It was a difficult time back in the day, but being with a criminal is not an option. You know what? We are all free agents. She is free to decide what kind of fate she wants, but he's also free to be like, I don't want to be with you. You know, as a criminal, having someone you care about is kind of a liability. So I can understand it also makes him a target because they could just kidnap her, do whatever they want to marry, and then it hurts him. It's also self-interested on his part to not have a +1 attached to him. Voila, I'm closing the parentheses. I wanted to comment on that whole storyline because it's just one of those things that we see often in the movies, but we don't really stop and think about it. Again, the movie is called Sinners. So we're dealing with people who done do sins. But back to what I was saying. I was saying that Mary tells us this kind of story, this backstory between her and him, just so that we can get him to be like, I love you, or whatever, the way he spit it out. And I felt that was uninteresting and disappointing that we just have the characters telling us. I appreciated they put more thought into the backstory between Voodoo Mama Juju and Smoke. Her name was Annie. So here the story is more shown than told, which I appreciated. We see a little grave site in front of Annie's house. Smoke pays his regards and then they talk about things. There's a mention of him leaving after some kind of event or whatever, if I recall correctly. She mentions that she gave him a magically protected medallion, Haitian voodoo, which is called hoodoo. So she is of Haitian shaman descent is what we can figure. He says, yeah, sure, you gave me this necklace, but how come your magic didn't work for our child or for the baby or something like this? So in the little hint, you understood that they were together, they had a child, that child passed away. He left her after that for a life of crime as well. I guess you gotta translate your grief somehow. And she stayed behind to be the medicine woman of the village. But he did ask some good questions. questions. If your magic works so well, why didn't it work for us? Because you're a sinner, sir. Because you're a sinner. You see how you live your life? No child is supposed to be around this. Here is another scene where we see mixed messaging that we often get in TV and movies between love and lust. Again, they have a little back and forth, and we get this very surface level, like, would you want me to say it? I love you from Smoke. Okay, we wasn't selling it. I'm sorry, both times they were not selling love to me, and I didn't feel like the back and forths gave enough for us to really connect to the romances in this movie. So yeah, she hears he loves her or whatever, and then she obviously logically, her response is to get physical with him. Annie touches his intimate parts and says something to the regards of, ooh, I could tell your body remembers me, or something like this. And then they, get it on. Yeah, boy. And obviously there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, physicality, intimacy is part of a relationship, obviously. But there's just something that irks me about one person saying I love you, and instead of there being like a hug or something innocent and really of the heart being shared between two people, we immediately jump to things of the loins being shared, which is like, y'all, that's not the same. Do you miss being intimate with this person, or do you love this person? Those two things, they can go hand in hand, but they are not the same, okay? Ketchup and mustard, they are great together on hot dog, but they are not the same condiment. Don't get it confused, please. And I'm saying this again because a lot of people end up falling for this. A lot of girls end up falling for the guy who left you, disappeared for his own selfish reasons, comes back with some sob story. He didn't even really come to see her. Well, he says he did, but he came because he actually needed her to cook or to come and work for them because they were opening up the juke joint that night. So he was soliciting her services, but why not? Two birds, one stone. Act like, yeah, I also came to see you because I love you. Because he knew that would get her to spread them wings, and then he could, get a little chicken wing on the side before he goes. This is so common. Disappear. They come back, they tell the girl some kind of story, act like the victim, put themselves in this little position of, oh, me and my fragile feelings. The girl feels bad, and what does she do? She gives them her body, thinking, okay, maybe this will keep him this time. If I sleep with him, I'll remind him of what he's been missing out on, and he'll stay. And then he's like, thanks for the meal. See you, pal. And he disappears again. It happens so often. So that's why I was like, please don't teach these new generations old tricks. Let's stop. Let's stop learning these bad habits, okay? Let's move on to better interactions between man and woman. I guess I would have preferred for the I love you moment to come later. It would have been maybe better if, like, okay, he came back to her and he didn't have the courage to say I love you because it had been a long time, but if he did say, yeah, of course I thought about you all the time, and listen, of course it was hard for me not being around you, and I really think it's best for you if you don't hang on to the memory of us. And then maybe she said, okay, fine, you know what, I'll help you. And before he goes, maybe they bump into each other. There's like an intimate feeling in between them, and then, they look at each other, and it's just like, can't help but throw it down, like he looks at her, she looks at him, and he like touches her lip or something, and then she slides her hand down him, and then she can go, oh, I see that your body misses me or remembers me or something like that, and then they can get intimate. Later on, when she's at the club, they can have a moment where, I don't know, she's helping out and he stops her and he's like, hey, I didn't think that you needed to hear it from me. I didn't think that I needed to say this to you. I thought you just understood that I left because I love you. But obviously I do. See, if he had delivered it in this way, now we're dealing with something that feels a little bit more authentic, feels like it has a lot more weight around it, Or even like when the drama goes down with the vampires and all that moment, bring the I love you out, because now there's fear of immediate danger. Then it would have been just more interesting. You see what I mean? And for Mary, telling her whole backstory to him, being like, I came back because I love you and I waited for you and you didn't come, but I married that man, blah, blah. I think that would have been more interesting if we had other characters talking about Mary. For example, Sammy, he could have talked to Cornbread. Can't believe I'm saying these names. At the beginning, and been like, who that girl, that white woman who's prancing around the club? Oh, that's Mary. Yeah, you were too young to remember, but she used to live around here. When Smoke and Stack mama died, Mary's mama took him in and raised him as her own and all that. Ain't she married to some white man now? What's she doing out here? So that now move forward to the interaction between Mary and Stack, we don't need the backstory to be told to us. They can just jump into conversation because they know the backstory. So why would they mention it? So yeah, that was my issue with the screenwriting. There was a lot of like just missed opportunities to flesh things out more. The characters, like I said, were very stereotypical. The preacher's son who wants to make music and be part of the Hollywood and the big lights and the industry and the nightlife. The preacher, the father, he doesn't approve because he's part of the church. No. That's a very stereotypical Black American character. The sleazy, schemy cousins who are up to no good, that's also very stereotypical Black American characters. The light-skinned girl pining after the hoodlum, very stereotypical. The portly character who's got a little bit of weight on him and his nickname is Cornbread because obviously he has to be associated to food because he's a little thicker than everybody else. Very stereotypical and to me problematic and needs to be finished. There was also an effort to like swing the pendulum, but I feel like it's swung in the opposite direction. Maybe it's not a bad thing, maybe okay, cool to representation, but there was a lot of talk about men satisfying women. I don't know, it just felt like it was pandering. It felt like it's trying to please this new generation, woke generation, but you're still talking about physical intimacy in a crass way and reducing everything to just like push this button and this person is satisfied, and it's like, ugh. You don't have to talk about it. Whether it's man or woman doing sensual acts, does it really need to be talked about? And it was talked about often in this movie, which was why it really felt like pandering. It's like, okay, we get it. You want the woke kids to be proud of you, to be happy. It just didn't need to be there. But again, this movie is called Sinners, so we're dealing with the nightlife, the things people do at night. And then let me talk about the whole, obviously, vampire treatment situation, because that's where the other problems were. I love this scene with the Native Americans who came to those white people's homes and was like, hey, we've been hunting someone, he's really dangerous, and that white woman was just like, get out of here, with her shotgun pointed at them. And then one of the dudes was on the horse was like, bro, the sun is setting. Let these folks deal with the mess that they have invited into their home. This is not our problem anymore. And they bounced. So it was kind of cute representation. You had the Native Americans out of the mess, out of the drama, sheltered, which I appreciated. They've been through enough. They don't need this mess. And then we're introduced to a vampire named Ramik. I did appreciate that we were dealing with classic vampires, like really old school, all of the tropes, they were all present. What I didn't appreciate was that it was so easy and there was just like, there wasn't enough vampire and there was way too much talking and too much fighting, but not enough playing with the whole vampire thing. What I took issue with was Voodoo Mama Juju. Voodoo Mama Juju Annie, who apparently, obviously, just because she is a hoodoo master, she knows everything about vampires. Yeah, these are creatures that are between the dead and the undead and blah, blah, blah. Here's what we need. And then she lists the grocery list of things that they need that they all happen to have at the club. Of course they would. Who doesn't go to the club and just asks for jars full of garlic? Of course, it's the South. They have garlic on hand all the time. That they would have garlic is fine. But the fact that she just knew everything. She knew about the silver bullets. She knew that they needed wooden stakes. It bugged me. The magical Negro. Such a trope in movies. I didn't expect to see a magical Negro in a Black American movie. Here's a rewrite. Back when Smoke was with Annie, maybe he mentioned something. His brother has some kind of ailment that he wants her to check out. The location has some bad vibes and she says, I'll bless the location. And he could be like, whatever, do what you want. As long as you come and you cook and you work for us tonight. And then she would come through with her book, a book of spells or whatever, where the information for, let's say, a blessing ritual would be, or some kind of medication for the brother who's dealing with some kind of ailment. That would have been cool, and a cool excuse to have her with her book on site. And then when the vampire ish pops off, it would have been so cool if she'd be like, I think these are vampires. I don't remember exactly what, my book. I brought my book. Let's go to the book and see how to deal with these creatures. She pops open the book, flips through the pages, and then does a little bit of reading. They're like, what? And then she tells them, okay, right, yes, do we have silver on hand? And they're like, no. What about the spoons? Can we melt the spoons? Can we do something with the forks and the this and that? Okay, Do what you gotta do. I got bullets, I always got bullets on me. Are they silver? No. Lace them in silver, get that done. Do we have garlic? Yeah, we're gonna make some bouillon later. So we have bouillon, garlic in the basement, tons of it. All right, cool, bring the garlic. We need wooden stakes. What do you mean? Break them chairs. And then they all get to it. Then it would have really felt like, ooh, okay, like they are really working together to figure out how to protect themselves from the vampires. This is a new situation for everyone involved. Vampires aren't part of her day-to-day routine reality. Explain it to the audience as if this was new, because we are dealing with the 1930s here. So it's new for them, at least pretend. It really felt like it was banking on, oh, everyone who's watching this movie already knows these things about vampires, so we're gonna skip the introductions and just get to the tools making. Yeah, no, not for me. The whole scene about like, oh, have them drink the garlic juice, that was smart though. The other scene that I felt was problematic was when, I forgot her name, she is obviously taunted by her husband who was turned into a vampire and Ramek, and she's told like, yeah, we're gonna go and eat your daughter now. So she's a worried mother. She wants to invite them in, the vampires, because vampire lore, for those who don't know, you have to invite vampires into your home. They're not allowed to cross a threshold. They can fly, apparently. They can do all sorts of tricks and things. They have incredible strength and gifts, but a threshold, my God. God forbid they come upon a doorstep. Oh, it's just beyond their capacity. They try to muffle her mouth so she doesn't scream it, but she ends up saying, come and get us, so that they don't go and attack her children. This was a very annoying, cheesy scene for me, because the moment she screams that, now everybody knows, oh shoot, she's invited the vampires who are all outside into the club. But they have a table full of weapons, so everyone just begrudgingly like, oh, okay. They just like turn around, do. They go and pick up a weapon, do, and all in a line, they wait in front of the door for the avalanche of vampiric action to arrive. Ugh, like they had done all these things to keep the vampires out, wait until the sun rises, that'll help us vanquish them. We just gotta stay here. We just gotta stay calm. Don't trust them. Annie told them. They lie. They manipulate. Don't listen to them. What does she do? She believes them. She listens to them. She invites them in. They didn't even get angry at her. I would have liked at least a scene of being like, what have you done? Do you know what you just did? And maybe one of them try to like shake her and push her into a corner or someone, and then somebody stops her and be like, we don't have time right now to react to her or deal with her. They're coming. We need to get ready. And then they run to the weapons. But instead it felt just so video gamey. It felt really just off. Come and get us! Aw, man. Weapon. Ready to fight. Like, what are we doing? What is this? I'm just so surprised, because for me, 4 or 5 seconds of rewrite, and now you have something that's a lot more sellable, a lot more enjoyable, realistic, smooth. Why couldn't they think of this? Why? It is what it is. So yeah, when she invites them in, you know, there's a very long fight scene. In this fight scene, we lose Annie. This is where the tomato juice comes in. She is gushered to death. Smoke and Stat get in it. Obviously, it had to be. Apparently, basically, the vampires, they don't want just anyone. They want Sammy. There was a really funny scene where Ramek, he appears and he's like, Sammy. So I don't know if that's just like homage to True Blood, a little wink, a little Easter egg there, or if it was just a coincidence.
Suki.
So yeah, then the fight breaks loose and all that, blah, blah, blah. People die, people are sacrificed in the process, blah, 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 blah. Fighting. Very uninteresting for me, because it's just a fight scene with vampires. Then we get to the end and we have the big boss, Ramek, versus Sammy. Now, I will pause here and go back to Ramek, because this is also a character I would like to talk about. So throughout the movie, we are basically informed, taught that vampires are connected. It's like a community. It's like an MLM. It's a pyramid scheme. So you have the person at the head, he, you know, bites people, then they're connected to him. Whatever they experience, their memories, their knowledge, it's transferred through the bloodline, so he knows everything they know. When he bit the Chinese man, now he could speak Mandarin. Ramek is really a talented musician. I don't know if Ramek previously bit musicians or he just happens to be musical, I don't know. So when he bites the KKK's nephew and his wife, they come yodeling, appearing at the club just like the Cullens, and they play their little music, which was fantastic, by the way. I loved it. And I was just like, where did they get these skills? How does everybody know how to sing so well? What's going on? Is this a vampire thing? But maybe he just bit some really talented musicians. Maybe the racist couple happened to be super talented. After Sammy experiences all of that night, survives, goes back, we're brought back to the first scene of the movie. I like when movies do that. They give you the end of the movie first and then you get the whole story. Sammy goes to his preacher father and he's just like, listen, I want to do music. We would expect him to be like, you know what? The nightlife is not for me. I want to live in the light of God, the daytime, Sunday mornings. Give me safety, give me shelter, give me the holiness. No, the vampires aside, I had a great time. I want to be a musician! He decides he's gonna leave whatever little town they're in and pursue a life of being a musical artist. Okay, great. That's why I was like, is this movie a commentary on the music industry in some way? Because the way Ramek was talking about, join us, we're a community, together, forever. Which The Little Mermaid also felt like it had some kind of messaging about Hollywood and signing contracts to get something in exchange. Your voice in exchange for power, wealth, money, love, whatever it is. So I was wondering, is this what the vampires were talking about? Like, it's a fake community, really like an MLM run by somebody at the top. And they're trying to convert you because they get something out of it. Not you think you're getting something out of it, but you're not. And so you're trading in your soul to be part of something that's actually eating away at you, robbing you of your morality, your autonomy, your soul in some sense. They do say that, you know, managers and producers or the heads of these industries are all soul-sucking vampires. So if that was a critique and a commentary, I picked up on it. I'm Angel here, jumping back in with an editor's note. Turns out that yes, there is a lot of heavy symbolism, and we are talking about, to a certain extent, the music industry, Hollywood, fame, but especially music industry specifically. And when I saw that what I picked up on was correct, I could actually now give you more of an analysis. What I didn't mention and what is impressive are the juxtapositions between the vampires who want to make music that is uniform, where everybody's singing the same song and there is one composer at the center of it, which is Ramek in the story. And then a music that transcends and that connects people because it comes from a more spiritual place and not from an MLM pyramid schemey type of energy. Whereas the vampires all are connected to one source. Sammy is connected to the past, present, and future because his music is organic, is authentic, is, you know, natural in some kind of sense. So it connects people of all walks of life in a more holistic way, in a more universal way, in a more transcendent way, instead of a possessive way, a controlling way, which is what you see with the vampires in their kumbaya Irish circle dance. Another thing about Ramek. So the scene at the end when Sammy and Ramek are fighting in the water, which was, I mean, obviously very symbolic because Sammy starts to chant the Christian Hail Mary, is it what it's called? He starts to pray because he feels like, you know, Ramek is about to eat him. Ramek starts saying the prayer with him and the whole congregation come out of nowhere, the vampire congregation, and they start to say the prayers as well. Then Ramek mentions that the village that he comes from, his people were also taken over by the Catholics, and even the defiance of Sammy versus his father, the preacher. I feel like the church was also being critiqued here. Faith and religion are different things. We do see faith represented in a positive way with the hoodoo, with Annie and magic and believing in spells and ancestry and all that. In music as well, we are connected to the past, the present, the future. We're connected to souls, the living and the dead. There is some kind of sacredness in faith in here. But religion and the church, I felt, was being criticized and mocked, actually, because we were in the waters. It was a baptism scene. Sammy is reciting the prayer, and Ramek is like, you think God is going to save you? I'm about to baptize you. I can say the same words as you. It's not going to help you. They're just words that you were taught to believe will protect you. Sammy was saved right after because Ramek was vanquished. Maybe God done intervene at that moment. Who knows? I'm just saying. Sammy went to the church the next morning, or that morning rather. Instead of turning to God and the church, he turned to music. And I thought that was also a very interesting choice. Was that also a commentary on the music industry? Like, people get a taste of it, they know it's horrible, they know that it's treacherous, but God damn, they must be part of it. There's just something so thrilling about the nightlife.
It's a living.
Another posthumous insert here. I was talking with my sister about the interpretations. Maybe the movie was also depicting that naivete that a lot of artists have, where they are so pure in their art making and their art sharing that they ignore the signs and they ignore everything that comes with being an artist in the music industry and the wolves and the vampires and all of the pitfalls that await in the pursuit of a music career. So yeah, Sammy's kind of naive enough to believe, like, you know what, I saw the nightlife and I saw what it can come with and I saw the dangers that come with being a great musician, but I still want to do music, which is just the artist's soul, basically, is what's being depicted. He was going to just do it his way, not the vampire's way, not his father's way, not the Christian way, but he wanted to go out there and forge his own path. He discovered the power of music and communicating that, so he was definitely moved and just impassioned. So it's like the only thing he wants to do is to create music and share it with people. And then the final smoke scene, smoke screen. Basically, Ramek was trying to, buddy with Smoke and Stack by letting them know that they were sold the venue by the head of the KKK because it's actually a slaughterhouse. What they do is they sell the venue, they let black people gather there, then the Klansmen come through and...
It's a trap!
Thank you, Ramek, for giving us this piece of information. And now we had a sequence that felt just like revenge porn to me. Why not? Smoke, he is ready the next morning for those Klansmen to come back. I thought they would come at night and, clear everybody out. I guess they just wanted to unalive the people they sold the place to. Anyways, many of them showed up. Creed was ready for them. He busts out the Tommy gun, wipes them all out, except for obviously the leader, hanging on by a thread. Mama could have survived. Mama could have gotten away, but Mama's big mouth just betrayed him. Creed caught lead in the crossfire. He's on the verge of death and he has a vision. He sees Mama Ode and she's holding their son. So we know that he's going to a better place where he's going to be reunited with his loved ones. But she tells him, which I thought was really interesting, and I don't know if people caught the metaphor. Annie says to Smoke, who was smoking, maybe that's why he got the name Smoke, because he smokes. That would make sense. She tells him to put that cigarette down. I don't want you to get any smoke in him. Oh, that was deep. Leave smoke behind. Leave your alter ego. Leave your vices, your sins, that persona behind to be with me and your son. Come to the purity. Okay. Props to the writers there. So like I said, the Klansman's on the floor. Instead of leaving and saving his booty, Fat Man Scoop decides to offer him money again, trying to buy him. Like, hello, do you not see that? Sir, that moment also felt very heavy with like commentary. The wicked trying to oppress and suppress, silencing them or buying them off with money, buying their safety or whatever. It just felt very like, he was unalived in that moment. Rightfully so. At the end of the movie, which I thought was very interesting as well, we actually see Sammy, older Sammy. Sammy had a career as a jazz musician. He even still had the scars on his face from getting slashed by the vampires, which was like, nice touch. Blues singers usually sing the blues because they have blues to sing. They've experienced things to sing about. And who do we see roll up? Dua Lipa and Creed, donning the finest 90s has to offer in clothing. I loved the drip, the wear. They were looking snatched. I lived for it. Yeah, they are living their best underworld life. And they come to pay old Sammy a visit. And then they have a final exchange before leaving where Sammy basically tells Stack, apart from the vampire stuff, that night was the best night of my life. Was it that way for you? Playing music for people, as a musician, it's a very divine feeling. I know that when I sing, there's something that happens inside of you. It's hard to explain. Yeah, it's a very sacred thing. And I can understand why he would say, besides the shoot show that happened afterwards, that night was just the best night of his life. It was his first performance coming out for the public, sharing his gift with people, with the world. It's an intense feeling. It's beautiful. It's memorable. And sadly, Stack says it was also the best night of his life because it was the last night of his life. Actually, it's the last time he had sunshine on his face because he can't do that anymore. Had his brother in his life, opportunities, a future life, basically. So that was also very interesting of seeing how this life as a vampire is, for him, is not a life. It really is a curse. Oh yeah, I didn't really talk about the other characters, but let me talk quickly about Other characters like Delta Slim. Delta Slim, the musician, also very stereotypical character that we're being presented here. The old man who suffered hard and again, who tells us the story. His friend getting murdered and lynched. Of course, we're dealing with the South. We're dealing with black people. There has to be a story about lynching. There has to be the KKK. I did think it was beautiful though at the end how he started singing his pain, referencing of the healing powers of music. And also it felt like obviously a commentary on the black community, alchemizing historical pain, generational pain through music. Music has such an important place, you could argue all cultures, but black American culture especially. Harriet Tubman and the song Wade in the Water. That was a very powerful scene as well, to see him like instead of crying, he just started humming and then singing his pain, and it was beautiful and it was strong. And then we had the character of Maybelline. Before this character, the Sammy's love interest, says her name. I could have sworn her name was Maybelline. And then she says, Pearline, one syllable away from being a stereotype. This is how predictable things were for me. But her character was funny and again played into the whole title of the movie, Sinners, because she's a married woman who is looking for trouble. So where does she find it? Obviously at the juke joint. Sammy's obviously flirting with this woman. This young buck wants a piece of that pie. But she's a married woman, so she has no excuse. She's a singer, so they mentioned that she might be singing at the club, you know, that night, but she wasn't intending to particularly. But after she got her box exploded with joy, he brought the singer out of her. She was up on that stage singing and crawling and just giving everybody a show. But again, in my opinion, sensuality is a spectrum. Just talk to your partners about what they would like to explore and what they like. Stop trying to presume you know what people like or what they want in the boudoir. Sensuality is not the same for everybody, and not all people like the same things. That scene, oh my God. Sammy was like, can I eat your box? And she was like, bro, it's the South, it's warm, it's moist. I've been out in the sun all day, I didn't cleanse myself. And he was like, I like it with the fixins. Let me taste. I want the everything bagel. Give it to me whole. Well, whether he liked it or not is, well, we don't know. But she liked it for sure. All in all, I have to say, I did enjoy the movie. I did not expect the vampires because I did not watch any trailers going into the movie. I was like, oh, people are talking about Sinners. It seems to be a big deal. I want to go in blind and be surprised. The first 1/3 of the movie, you do not have the sense that it's going to go into that direction, which was nice. I was like, okay, story about the South, why is this a horror movie? I don't know, is it going to be the KKK? Bam, all of a sudden the Cullens appear and you're like, oh! So my new conclusion is that yes, this movie is actually genius in so many ways. Very well thought out, creative and wonderful, and yeah, really impressive in the way that it was made, especially in its historical references. That being said, two things can be true. It also could have used a little bit more work in terms of character development and screenwriting, in my humble opinion, that no one has to agree with. But I appreciated the vampire lore, I appreciated the Deep South lore, I appreciated the acting, I appreciated the set design, the costuming, the music above all else, and yeah. What did you think of the movie? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please like this video if you like the review. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps the channel thrive. Leave your requests and suggestions in the comment section, as well as your own interpretation of the movie. I would love to hear from you. Mwah. I'm M. Angel signing out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!